Welcome to Divisive Issues, a comic book podcast where we talk about hopefully good, but not this time, comic books. I'm Ryan Lynch.
I'm Cycrappa.
I'm Phil Maverickus.
And I'm Darryl Steffen again.
Darryl's back.
Again?
Yeah.
Wow.
So usually we only have guest hosts for special editions. That's only because none of our guest hosts want to read comics. Darryl does. So we said, come on board.
Ryan, I just want to clarify. You said you want to read good comics. Based on the track record of this podcast, I think you're a liar.
Hey, we had Froctor, we had Muhammad Ali. Come on.
Okay, that's two.
Well, the thing is, we had two good books in a row, and then Ghostbusters was pretty decent. It was okay. So we have to punish ourselves for the easy time we've been having lately.
That's true. I mean, we want to be divisive, but the problem with these books now is that they're not divisive. We're all going to agree, I think, that they're.
But we're all going to agree. But keep in mind, Mark Millar is one of the most popular writers
It's
around.
incredible.
Okay, this first book, Nemesis, I have been recommended this book before.
Okay, so I want to say the backstory for this. We were discussing what should we do with Darryl because Darryl wanted to do Mark Millar. Mark Millar is a shared edgelord we mentioned before, and he writes good stuff when under editorial control by Marvel and DC because they rein him
His
in.
Marvel DC work is like some of my favorite stuff.
I didn't realize until earlier today that he wrote Red Sun, which I really enjoyed.
Oh, you read that? Yeah, that's a good story, right?
Yeah, it is really good.
And we reviewed Civil War. That was a pretty good story too. But every time he's on his own, he writes shit like this stuff and Wanted. And when we were talking about which book should we talk about, I suggested Nemesis because the premise. And Ryan said, "No, we can't do Nemesis. It's too good for this."
Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
I hadn't read it, but I heard it was pretty good.
That's what I'm talking about. People fucking love Mark Millar. They love this shit. I don't know why.
So wait, when you say people like this, you must mean like 8th graders, or like 7th graders?
Maybe that might be
don't
why
know.
he's so popular because he gets the shared edgelord preteen demographic.
Yeah.
I don't know, because like when I first got into comics, I kept asking for recommendations and stuff, and a lot of recommendations. This was years ago, so I don't, distinctly. I don't distinctly remember.
I wish Mark Millar was
what forums they were and stuff, but I remember. People were saying, Marvel, here's, easy to get into Marvel stuff. DC, here's some easy to get in DC stuff. And then if you want, standalone indie stuff, a lot of it was Mark Millar books, Kick-Ass and Wanted and Kingsman, and
They're all terrible.
Not get it.
They're all terrible.
Kick-Ass is the best of them, I guess, and I still hate the book.
Yeah.
I remember being recommended Irredeemable and Nemesis, together.
Irredeemable is Mark Waid, right?
Yeah, and I love Irredeemable. I think it's really great. But Nemesis is, it's something else.
Maybe it's because I read our second book first, but Nemesis was not nearly as terrible as I was, bracing for.
It's not good, though.
Oh, I'm not saying it's good. I would not recommend it to someone if they were like, I've never read comics before. Where should I start?
So we should actually get into this episode, or else we're going to talk forever about this.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
The premise of Nemesis is basically, what if Batman was evil? What if instead of his parents getting killed by villains, what if his parents were killed by the police, and now Batman waged a war on the police, and that's Nemesis.
And actually, one thing I do want to point out, Mark Millar and kind of got his start as being a co-writer with Grant Morrison a lot, and then they had a big falling out, and Grant Morrison used the same idea,
Yes.
basically in almost verbatim.
I will talk about this in my recommendations, Ryan.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, never mind. But Grant Morrison had used this idea, when did Nemesis come out?
Like 2008, 2009.
Yeah, so it was a decade after Morrison used the same idea. And that was right after him and Millar stopped working together.
Yeah, they had a falling
and
out.
they have some bad blood. They have some bad blood that Morrison has said Millar kind of takes some of his ideas sometimes.
Well, Millar, I also have a suspicion that Millar's a dick.
Really?
I don't know. What I've seen of him behind the scenes, he seems like a pretty cool guy.
Most of the time he lies about his fucking movie projects. He claimed that he was the Joss Whedon of the Fox X-Men films.
Wait, that wasn't true?
No, it wasn't. They asked Bryan Singer in an interview, "Hey, did you talk to Mark Millar about any of your upcoming X-Men films?" And he's like, "Who's Mark Millar? What are you talking about?" It's a common thing that people familiar with Mark Millar know. If he's talking about something, it's probably bullshit to hype himself.
That's so funny.
Can we not just assume he's a sociopath based on these books?
I guess so. Okay.
There has to be something.
It's not like a
seriously wrong.
sociopath. He's just like a puerile
No.
Arrested Development.
No, Unfunnies is not psychopathic in a little bit. Like to create that for no reason.
No, it's just like
All right, we have to save all this discussion. We have so much to talk about.
we always want to talk about Unfunnies.
Yeah. So. Nemesis. Focus on Nemesis. What's the target?
Wait,
audience?
Sly, would you say Mark Millar is your nemesis?
Maybe.
I was gonna make that joke and I forgot to make it, and I'm so mad.
So, is there a target audience for Nemesis?
Yes.
Teenagers?
If you read Wanted and Kingsman and really like them, this is very much in the same vein.
Yeah, if you're like in 7th or 8th grade listening to us.
If you're a shithead edgelord,
Yeah, if you just like crazy things happening without any kind of reason.
yeah, we keep calling him an edgelord. Define edgelord, Sly.
Yeah, we've said edgelord a lot on the show without defining it. I don't know if that's a term that people that aren't like just grew up on the GameFAQs forums are gonna know.
Well, according to
Are you gonna pull up a fucking Urban Dictionary definition?
the Urban Dictionary, edgelord is a poster on internet forum, particularly 4chan, who expresses opinions which are either strong and nihilistic or contain references to Hitler, Nazism, fascism, or taboo topics which are deliberately intended to shock or offend readers.
Okay.
The term edgelord is a noun, which comes from the previous adjective edgy, which describes the above behavior.
Comes from the Latin root edge.
Meaning sharp.
All right. So
An example is Nietzsche was an edgelord before it was cool.
So if you enjoy, like Darryl said, just shocking stuff
The works of Nietzsche.
For that.
for no reason, then you'll like this, I guess, because that's what these books are.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very comparable to like the Wanted style. If you liked that book and Kingsman, then this is very much like the same vein. It's not as derivative of the plot as Wanted and Kingsman are because they're like the same exact thing. This is a much more unique story, but it's very much like in the same taste.
It's kind of like the Spake Zarathustra.
What?
Fuck, I fucked up the pronunciation.
Does Frank Zaraf?
Yeah.
I was trying to make a Nietzsche reference. Fuck me. Zarathustra.
Oh, Zarathustra.
Yeah.
Alright, so...
So you heard it here first. If you like Bridge to Terabithia, you should read Nemesis.
All right.
So getting into the plot. The plot opens up, I think, in Japan,
Yep. In Tokyo.
where...
Oh, also for the record, the art is Steve McNiven. Who
I think
did,
it means Steve
Civil War.
McNiffage, as Joe calls him.
Yeah. So it's Steve McNiven. He did Civil War with Mark Millar. He has a history with him. They're a pretty great team together.
They're a great team on one book. Not like that's not a track record, Ryan.
No, but I'm saying like their styles work well together.
They work together like Hitler and Stalin did at the beginning of
my
World War
God.
II.
Okay.
No, now I'm the edgelord.
We are becoming Unfunnies.
We are the edgelords.
We'll get to the whole book, but what do you guys think of the art?
Yeah, I wanted to bring up that I really like Steve McNiven's art.
Yeah, he's always.
And
he's
I
a great
think
artist.
it works,
Yeah.
like, he has a lot of good, like, the angles that he draws from and the amount of detail he puts into it is just right, and I'm really impressed with everything he's done so
Can
far.
we bring up the fact that every single man who's above the age of 30 looks like they're 85 years old.
Yeah,
That's true.
His wrinkles and folds in their faces are like these dark shadows, so they look shriveled. Like, the main good guy of this story is probably supposed to be like 40, and he sometimes in some scenes, he looks like an 85-year-old man because of his wrinkles.
I will say this is my least favorite Steve McNiven work I've seen so far, and it is because I feel like Phil said, there's really strong lines on the people, and the light coloring feels less vibrant than it did on stuff like Civil War.
I think it makes sense. For it to be subdued in Nemesis because it's like a
It
one-on-one.
does, but it makes it less appealing to the eye for me.
Oh, okay.
Also, fuck you. He also did Old Man Logan with Mark Millar. He's like probably Millar's.
Is Old Man
best
Logan
friend.
actually good?
It's pretty good.
Do we have to review it to fucking prove you wrong,
Yeah,
Ryan?
next time on Divisive.
Do we have to review every Mark Millar book until you accept that he's not good?
Sly, you're the one that wants to review them.
No, but Ryan's
right.
like, I challenge you, Sly. It's a good book. Nemesis is a good book. Old Man Logan's a good
I
book.
did not say that.
Say that.
All right.
I'm just saying,
Guys.
like, when you look at Mark Millar's some of his most beloved work, Steve McNiven has done exceptional work with Mark
What
Millar.
I will say is I've read 2 Mark Millar books now, and I fucking hate him, but I'm not
He
saying...
also wrote Red Sun, though.
I'm not saying that he can't make good stuff, because I haven't read most of it. Okay. Let's get into the plot, please.
All right, so it's in Japan. Nemesis has a police officer tied down.
Wait. I just want to point out for some reason at like the top of the first frame it says player 1.
Yeah, player 2 comes in later.
No, but why
Yeah,
is
they
it like
introduced his Nemesis
Yeah.
as player 2. And is that at all brought up again?
No.
No, it's supposed to be the 2 opposing characters. Player 1, player 2.
You don't need to do like whatever.
We've
Go ahead.
we've experienced a story before. We know that they're gonna
Yeah,
be
it's
a
like
conflict.
here's someone important.
Oh, wow, Mark Millar doesn't know how to write.
So, Nemesis has this police officer tied down on railroad tracks, and the police officer
Describe Nemesis.
he looks like white Batman without the ears.
he's White Space Ghost.
Or, I think...
He looks like white, Ryan. That's a fucking oxymoron.
He looks like Batman.
He does look Batman.
No, but Space Ghost also has a black cowl. So this is a white cowl.
Batman's an apt comparison. You just imagine him without the ears.
Yeah.
So White
That's Space Ghost, you dicks!
White Batman is holding down this police officer on the train tracks, and you see some like SWAT teams apparently coming to rescue the police officer. And White Batman says, looks like your guys are coming for you. I said I would execute you at 10:30 or whatever, and looks like they're just on time. And then in Dark Knight style, they kick open the door, and instead of the police officer, it's a bunch of bombs.
White
Yeah.
dynamite sticks.
It's actually the police chief.
Yeah.
It's a police chief capturing.
And so he's like, sadly, of course, they're almost 2 miles away. Stupid little pricks. You think they'll check their sources? Because, of course, every single Mark Millar individual book has to have the characters talk like Mark Millar characters.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest pet peeve with him is almost everyone talks the same way.
Yeah.
Where they're all just like
Assholes.
snippy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will also say this is one of my least favorite books I've ever read because I personally have this it's a really big pet peeve where in fiction when the writer cheats really hard in favor of the villains.
Oh.
Yeah.
To make the villains win when they shouldn't have. I brought this up a little bit with.
All right, we'll get into that. There's lots of examples coming up ahead.
Yes, and that's
That is the best way to describe this book. The villain cheats the whole time.
it's the writer's fault though. The villain is just doing what he's told. The writer here.
I'm not.
So don't blame the fictional character Nemesis. Blame Mark Millar.
Yes, blame Mark Millar. Okay, so yeah.
So as a SWAT team break in, the place explodes and it destroys the entire skyscraper they're in.
I want to bring up, this is why I like Steve McNiven's art.
Yeah, it's
like
good.
it's real detailed, man. It gives you it perfectly captures the moment in just a few frames.
We talked about this in Wanted, but the reason why these artists work well with Mark Millar, like J.G. Jones and Steve McNiven, is because they're very cinematic. Like the way this thing is shot is it's silent, and you just see the building explode and start coming down, crashing onto the railroad tracks where the main characters are. And so the police officer's like, "Oh, you blew my men, fuck you." And
Almost verbatim.
As we always have to clarify when it's a Mark Millar book, it's not Sly being Sly. They really say every time anything happens, you know what, fuck you.
yeah. And it turns out that's not the end of it, because not only is the building, all his men blown up now, but a train is coming to run them over, and then the building's going to crash into...
It crashes into the train tracks.
Yeah, basically, it crashes into the guy, and then because they blew up the building crashed into the train tracks, and now the train has nowhere to go, so the train crashes into the ground and kills all the people on the train and on the building and that police officer.
I'd also like to point out that the police chief on the railroad tracks doesn't notice the train is coming until it's 30 feet away.
Yeah.
And if you've ever ridden a subway before,
It's so
or
loud.
even any train, you notice it very much farther away, especially if you're sitting where it's going to shake.
The Japanese
Yeah.
bullet trains are pretty quiet.
Also, I want to bring up that
Oh, they are in Japan.
Yeah,
That's
they
true.
before the police officer dies, he calls Nemesis an evil little cock.
And then he super explodes, and he has a lot of blood that he leaves on the front of this train.
there's a lot of gore in this book. But
A lot of gore.
This is probably the goriest scene, though.
No.
It has his guts all over the tracks
No.
and stuff.
There are a lot of more gory scenes than this.
Okay, we'll get to it.
So as we said, they're in Japan. So his men turn to Nemesis and says, "What now, sir? Who next shall have the honor of the world's only super criminal?" And Nemesis says, "America, I think." And basically, there's a policeman in Washington who's like a super cop. He like the first time he appears, he's like shooting down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, so when he says there's a cop in Washington, that's when it cuts to player 2.
Yeah.
And it's just dudes' heads explode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this cop is shooting 5 dudes at once.
Yeah.
It's so weird that the way of introducing to how cool he is that he's just murdering these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they are thieves robbing this store.
And hostage takers. They're hostage takers.
Oh, yeah.
He also has he's using like a pump action shotgun
Yeah.
Which,
in a hostage situation.
and the like, if you look at the people dying, it's like one bullet through the head type. Like, that's not a shotgun. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. It looks cool. It looks cool for him to hold it. So they're like, look how badass he is.
That is actually, he captured the theme of Nemesis. It's, you get to a point where you just go, whatever, and you keep reading.
But that happens like on like. Usually I deal with Mark Millar. Even in the Wanted episode, I was like, it took me an issue or two for me to really hate it. Right away, I was like, here we fucking go again.
Yeah, so like we said, it was like a hostage situation at this store, and this guy came in the back and shot all of them without telling the other cops, and they're like, wow, you're a badass! You stuck in the back without telling anyone and killed those guys. Good job, chief.
And this isn't what police chiefs do.
No, it's not.
Yeah, they're not the ones running in there with a shotgun, undercover cop shooting people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as he leaves, another cop hands him a card saying, "Oh, the person who killed those cops in Japan is now after you. He gave you this card, and this card saying his name, Blake Morrow, March 12th at midnight. Flatline still counts."
Also, while they're telling him this, the way the panel is framed, there's a police van, but they're standing in the way, so the letters just say, "Oh, lick."
A lick command.
So, and then they give exposition, and he's like, "Oh, why me? Why me?" And he's like, "Oh, you're the best cop in the city. Are you kidding? You reorganized Washington D.C. Everyone copies our police department now. Crime is down 60%." Like a big exposition just to explain how awesome this guy is.
Yeah.
It's really this whole book seems like it's two characters fighting over who the writer can make cheat more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like everything about this cop is perfect, and everything about this villain is perfect. I guess they are truly perfect.
Not everything about the cop and his life is perfect.
Yeah,
As
I
we'll
was gonna
find out.
say the cheating is not equal here. They cheat for the villain so much. The
Yeah.
cop survives miraculously, but he doesn't like win ever.
Well, yeah, but we'll get into that.
They confirm that it's Nemesis by the typeface and the paper stock that the card was handed to him, which I think is just like a really weird way to confirm someone's like, this is his business card.
Yeah,
like,
it's like
exact.
It's just a plain white card with like Times New Roman 12.
I don't know if there's any instance of like a typeface being like, "Oh, you can't use a typeface anymore now. If you do that, you're
yeah, it's
Nemesis."
like this is.
I love the idea of them being like, "There's the Jokerman serial killer is on the loose again."
But like I said, they dump a lot of exposition in the scene, and one of them is, "Oh, add the fact that you're a family man and a practicing Catholic, and you're everything he loves to humiliate." So like, yeah, now we know he's a Catholic, he's a family man, he's a super cop. Everything we know in his first 2 pages.
And
That's
it
how
establishes that Nemesis' motivation is that he likes to humiliate people that he finds like lavish,
Yeah.
like their lifestyles.
Yeah, he says, what does he say? He equates decency with pomposity.
Yeah, which I was like, okay, that's a kind of weird but interesting motivation for a supervillain.
Also, I don't remember if we mentioned it. This is a world where no superheroes or other villains exist.
Apparently.
Right.
So every single Mark Millar work seems to assume that it's like the real world, but what if superhero was in here, like Wanted? Kind of.
This fucking scene. So he puts the police chief puts his family in protective custody.
Yeah.
And then it immediately cuts to Air Force
Jesus.
Air Force One. All of the escort jets are exploding simultaneously, and White Batman lands from somewhere onto Air Force One. Walks to the front somehow of a moving plane. By the way, I don't know if you know, Mark Millar. That's not how planes work. And then he just starts shooting through the windshield,
Cockpit.
the cockpit glass, kills them, somehow gets inside the plane, and just flies down. I don't know.
I have to say, though, as stupid as it is, the panel of him shooting into the cockpit looks so cool.
Yeah, all these panels look cool. The panels of him crashing the plane into a tunnel looks cool.
Yeah, Steve McNiven's art's really great. It just makes no sense whatsoever, because now it's like, is this a supervillain with superpowers? Like, he can just walk on planes?
He has to. I mean, like you said, Mark Millar's trying to be cool, so like it is cool. It's just nonsense too. Like he's like what cool situation? Yeah, he's gonna blow up all the jets. He's gonna land on the plane. He's gonna shoot he's gonna hijack Air Force One. And he's gonna fly right into a tunnel with a 747. He's gonna land on the ground, basically fly through a tunnel so that the wings break off, but the plane doesn't explode. Like it's
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Another thing I want to bring up is we have Nemesis's motivation is that he goes after people like with lifestyles he doesn't approve of. And then when he's flying this plane on the ground, he goes, "That's right, you little peasants, run. Like, he just doesn't care about anyone. Like, okay, is he, like, a psychopath, or does he have a specific, like, MO that he follows?
Well, I will point out that one of the main themes of Nemesis is they keep, like, finding out theories about him that they question. Like, his motivation and backstory is part of the mystery.
But we should mention this briefly because we talked about this in Wanted, where it is possible to have a villain be the main character and do evil things, and you still root for him.
Yeah.
The problem is, every time Mark Millar writes a villain, they talk like Mark Millar, first of all. So they're like, shit, fuck, cock, dicks.
Yeah, so immediately you just want to close the book.
Yeah, and they're also they're always just wanton mass murderers. Like, they enjoy just killing random people. Like, there's no strong motivation for them.
But you're not supposed to root for him in this, right? There's no way you can want
Yeah,
him.
definitely not.
I think you are. You're Wanted, and it's not a coincidence that every single character he writes is a shithead.
Yeah, at the end of the book, it's like you Nemesis fans. It's like you're everyone's favorite psychotic serial killer.
Does this have a sequel or anything?
Yes, it
Or
does.
is this the
Oh
only
my god,
one?
it does?
Not yet.
What?
It's coming out. It's coming out. Everyone's hyped for it. Everyone's fucking talking about it. There's a movie coming out too, by the way.
So you are turning into Nemesis? You're gonna hunt Mark Millar down?
I'm gonna humiliate him.
Yeah. I don't agree with his writing.
No matter what happens, we have anything Nemesis related we have to do on this show.
Okay.
I can't. All right. I feel like I'm living in an alternate reality now.
The movie could be good.
No.
No, because there's promise here where it's like if you just do Batman as evil.
Okay.
I despise the Kingsman book, and it was one of my favorite movies of the
I
year.
despise
Yeah.
Wanted, and Wanted was a good movie.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Kick-Ass is a fantastic movie. The book is terrible.
Yeah, you're right. These movies are actually all really good.
And we found out about Wanted. Like, what happened with Wanted was they just heard like the premise on like the comic hyping list, and they're like, "Oh, that sounds like a cool premise." And they bought the rights without reading the comic. And then when they read the comic, they're like, "I guess we'll just use the premise and nothing else."
Okay. So what happens next, Sly?
So what happens is he crashes the plane into a tunnel, and then for no reason they show like a little a baby with her mom, and the mom's saying, "Oh God, no!" in front of a petrol truck, and she explodes and dies.
That's it. There's a lot of like. This is why I said he must be a psychopath in real life, because there's a lot of just like gore and like killing of children and stuff for the sake of doing it. They're like,
Shock value.
Wouldn't it be cool if like this kid got run over too, or like the cop's head blew off?
Yeah, he's super into shock value. He's super into like innocent people suffering to show you how like real the situation
Especially
is.
husbands.
Again, it's
getting cheated on.
oh no, spoilers.
Any longtime fan of the show knows that it wouldn't be a Mark Millar book without some serious cuckolding.
So even though Nemesis was in the front of this plane, the cockpit, as it crashed into this petrol truck and killed everyone around him, he's fine. Like, next scene, he's giving a speech on TV saying, "Oh, I just my calling card. Did you like it, Chief?" And he was like mocking him, saying, "Oh, you can't protect these people." He says, "You couldn't even save your president, you assholes."
No, he's televising himself everywhere across like the nation to every TV.
Yeah, and he also says this is his revenge for a stolen childhood.
Yep.
The black sheep of the Anderson family has returned, and we don't know what this is yet.
Yeah.
Like, there's no... It's framed because it's the end of the issue. It's framed like it's a reveal, but, like, we don't know anything
Yeah, we
yet.
don't know
All
who
we know
that
is
is.
this guy kills
Yeah,
everybody.
okay, and the final page is the president tied up on the ground in front of Nemesis on his little throne, and Nemesis says to the cameras recording this, saying, "It's time you hail to your new fucking chief."
Also, Nemesis is making, like, a kissy face.
Yeah, he's got plans for the president after that video's over.
Yes. So
To be continued, issue 1, and...
I also want to say, could be a cool idea, like we said earlier, but to go, like, I want to torment this cop. I know what I'll do to get on his bad side. I'll kidnap the president from midair out of Air Force One. It's like it's too much. Like, this could have been cool if it was more grounded in something that could actually.
If it was actually like Batman levels, like Batman.
That's what I said to Darryl earlier. We'll see this throughout the whole 4-issue series, but if Batman could not do this stuff, they cheat so hard for him that like this feels like a shittily written Batman story in villain form.
Again, if this is a Batman story, you would just say this is bullshit. Batman could not do that.
Yeah, Batman can't. This is.
But it's like what a 7th or 8th grader imagines that Batman could do. It's like, no, Batman could blow up 2 planes at once.
So it's perfect. It's perfect for the target audience.
Yeah. You just planned really good, and then you just could do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, we should mention we didn't have the cover for the first issue here because the scans didn't have it. But the cover for the first issue shows Nemesis on the car, and the tagline says, "This book makes Kick-Ass look like shit."
Oh my god.
So I bring that up because the cover to issue 2 is.
Can I read the title?
Yes.
So it's basically a bunch of cops with like riot shields and those pump action shotguns, facing Nemesis, and he's just all smug, and he also has a huge bulge.
Yeah.
It's Mark Millar, like he personifies himself here in this character.
Yeah, that's what we call a Mary Sue. And the title is "Crime is Awesome and So Am I."
Yeah. Just like the titles of what was it, Wanted, where one of them was just literally "fuck you." So it opens with a flashback to 20 years ago, the home of Matthew Anderson, and everyone's dressed in like French Victoria.
It's like Baroque style, 18th century powdered wigs.
I did not get this.
They're having it must be like a theme party.
Yeah,
it has to be a theme party.
It's like the most confusing way to present like.
Because it seems like we're flashback to the 1800s now, but we're not.
Yeah.
Like this is like the 1980s or something.
Yeah.
So it turns out his dad had a scandal or something, and I don't know.
His dad was killing kids, wasn't he?
He was hunting. He was hunting them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was running a group for rich people to hunt kids, like strays and waifs.
Yeah. So
that's a classic kind of Mark Millar idea.
Like, I had to read it over and over again because I'm like, how do you just like have this be a normal thing in this universe where it's like, let's go hunt people?
The most dangerous game is to hunt teenagers.
So this is a sequel to the most dangerous game. Okay. His dad, Nemesis' dad, apparently hung himself when the police caught up to him, and Nemesis didn't blame his dad or anything. He blamed
the cop.
The cop who broke the case.
Yeah, the cop broke the case, and his mom, before she got executed, says, "I want you to destroy that clever policeman, my darling. Blake Morrow is the one who stopped the champagne."
Like, again, these are psychopaths now, because she's not even, like, sobbing. She's in the electric chair.
She's literally strapped into the electric chair, yeah.
And she's like, that one man, he stopped our champagne from flowing. Go execute him.
And
like,
she looks all serene, like, oh.
And then Nemesis says, "Thus Nemesis was born. All those other cops just practice." And they introduce us to Nemesis Cave, which is like the Bat Cave, but no bats.
Does this come back at all?
No.
He gets dressed at one point, which we can assume is in the Nemesis Cave, and that's it.
No.
But I just want to point out, all the guards are there. Like, he invites them to his cave, but they're all blindfolded, and they're like, "Why are we blindfolded?" And he's like, "I invite you to my cave, but I can't let you see my cave."
Yeah.
Well, he says, "I can't trust you yet because they're unproven."
So what
No,
Nemesis
they're
does is
like, I can't trust you because you're all trusted henchmen, but you're all still criminals.
What Nemesis does is when he goes to a new area to start killing the cops there, he somehow goes on like Craigslist for like most wanted criminals, and he hires them. And he has like
for $10 million each, he pays them.
And so he's like, he dresses them up as ninjas, and he's like, "You're my demolitions expert, and you're my burglar expert."
Well, he's done this like 4 or 5 times, and he has this base, and he can buy explosives. Like, this guy is really absurdly rich.
Yeah.
Okay. So he says, "I'm thinking of." He's like, "I'm thinking of riddles for a brilliant chief of police," and these riddles are so fucking annoying because they're so dumb.
Say them.
They're like, okay, so what gets wet when drying? An explosion at the Redskins football stadium.
I don't get it.
The more you take, I don't get it either.
I thought they were like anti-jokes, where it's like,
yeah, that's what I thought too, but I'll get to it after these 3. So the more you take, the more you leave behind. What are they? The theft of the Hope Diamond. And what fastens 2 people but touches only one? A battered bodies of 2 spinsters. And it's like the voiceover while these crimes are happening. And I thought like, oh, it's anti-jokes, which are, super fucking edgelord to do anyway.
Yeah.
But then later on, he has another riddle, and it's like the Riddler level where they're like, that's not really like the obvious.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that scene because I want to bitch about
No,
this.
but the reason why I wanted to mention that is because I feel like what Mark Millar is trying to do by making that riddle later is like, oh no, these ones have really deep third level answers too, but you just can't think of it because you're dumb. And like, no, they're definitely not real.
I'll get to that because they do make it seem like there's a pattern to his thinking, but there isn't.
I like that
There's not, yeah.
where Ryan draws the line with this book is riddles.
Of course.
Dumb riddles.
Well, okay, because
That's
the
too
Riddler
far!
is my favorite villain, and
But this is not the riddle. This is Batman. Batman will make sure riddles
I know,
properly.
no, but here's the thing: is one of the things that's really hard to write about the Riddler when you write the Riddler is the riddles have to be clever enough that you don't get them immediately, but they still have to be solvable. And sometimes shitty writers, when they write the Riddler, make up these like bullshit plot things. It's like you have to be clever to write a clever character, and I feel like Mark Millar is just trying to pretend he's clever.
Yeah.
And it's the worst. That's one of my big pet peeves.
I think that's Mark Millar's entire career, trying to pretend he's clever.
It's just like how he pretends that like Nemesis is really good. It's like Nemesis is so smart with his riddles that you can't figure them out even if you like spend your whole life on
like
them.
Sly said, Batman probably wouldn't be good at riddles. His riddle would be like, "Where's Rachel?"
Where's your Joker?
That's quite a conundrum.
So he goes.
We turn into this like guy who looks like he's
Dead.
diseased.
Looks like he has like polyps on his face or something.
Did you ever play Left 4 Dead?
Yeah.
You know those flat
The boomers?
Yes,
corpse? The
yeah.
flat corpse?
The what are they called?
No, I'd say they're a little more attractive. The boomers.
Yeah.
Boomer, yeah, they're more attracted to this guy.
He looks like a clay face falling apart, or
Yes.
maybe more like another Mark Millar character, Shithead, who was clay face made out of shit, the shit of Hitler. Yeah. Phil, did you forget that in Wanted, Clayface was made out of Hitler's shit?
I did forget.
But this guy's supposed to be the Alfred to Nemesis is Bruce Wayne, and he's like horrified over because he was the uncle to.
Wait, he's not supposed. He raised.
He raised him,
him.
so he's like, I'm horrified by the boy I raised turned out to be a monster, because he's being interviewed by the
cop,
the Detective Morrow, Chief Morrow,
Yeah.
whatever.
Keep in mind too, like it's not like you're going to your like uncle, like someone's uncle. You're like your son killed someone. It's like, yeah, your son kidnapped the president, and then beat two old women to death, then stole the Hope Diamond. Like his crimes.
I think in Japan they say he killed like 22,000 people, or something like that.
Yeah. It's not like has he checked in lately?
The detective's just making sure that this old man, the uncle of Nemesis, isn't like giving him money because he's trying to figure out.
And like Darryl alluded to before, it's impossible that this amount of money is spent by Nemesis on like this bat cave in every country, $10 million for these people, all these explosives, and that money doesn't appear anywhere.
He uses Bitcoin. He uses Bitcoin.
Or
Is that edgy
Dogecoin.
enough?
Dogecoin.
Yeah, he uses Dogecoin.
There you go.
Nemesis is the only person, like the only thing keeping these currencies alive.
So they cut to the Pentagon, and he's discussing it with the Pentagon crew, and
There's another man that's melting.
The Homeland Security guy is like,
you know in the first Bat movie when Joker shoots that guy to death, and the guy's like a rotted corpse. This is what this guy looks like.
yeah.
This is when I realized they hated the art. Just from these panels.
So Detective Morrow, Chief Morrow, is in the place, and he's giving orders to everyone. And the Secretary, the Homeland Secretary, the head of the Homeland Secretary says,
Sly, the Secretary of Homeland Security.
Sly don't read good.
and he says, "I'm still the head of Homeland Security, asshole. You haven't got my job just yet."
And like the president is captured. This is not the time to be insubordinate.
Also, it's really weird because this is like the only line that guy has.
Yeah.
It's just like it's a random like he just need to say asshole to someone.
Also, can we just this meeting's happening, and then maybe the most ridiculous line of this whole comic comes up next, where they're trying to figure out where he's going to attack next. And
By deciphering his riddle.
Yeah,
So what's the riddle?
So the riddle is what's black and white and red all over, and how does it relate to a gas attack? And everyone knows, like, black and white, red all over, it's a newspaper.
yeah, they're all debating it, and then the hero says it's the Pentagon, and they're like, "What?" and he says, "Our biggest selling newspaper is the Washington Post. The Post was founded in 1877, and in numerological terms, 1 plus 8 plus 7 plus 7 all adds up to the number 5. The Pentagon has 5 sides. Don't you understand? The attack is happening here."
The one thing I like is the Secretary of Homeland Security does say, "Are you out of your fucking mind?"
And then everyone dies.
To go back to what Ryan said, because they make it seem like this scene makes it seem like all this other stuff has some kind of pattern behind it, and now the hero is getting the pattern, but there is no pattern. That's not a pattern. What is that? What is that?
That's also not a real riddle. I'm sorry to assume that it's a newspaper factory or something, and then you're like, "Oh, the Washington Post did this," and why the Washington Post of all newspapers?
Also, it's everything about it's so dumb. Everything's about it's so dumb. I hate it.
Yeah, I hate it too. You were the one defending it, saying it's not that bad.
This happens all the time where I go in, and if you notice, the past 10 episodes, my opinion at the beginning is usually the opposite of what it's the end.
So this is where I also I take umbrage with the amount he cheats for the villain. The Pentagon is a pretty secure building, and somehow he manages to nerve gas the entire facility. He's like, all 20,000 people here are dead. And then except our hero, Morrow.
Who slipped the antidote into his coffee.
Yep, and his sidekick, Sydney or something.
Stewart, I think?
We call them partners.
Yeah, but he's the sidekick of this fucking story.
Yeah, the police chief and his sidekick.
And then White Batman, he shows up. He's like, "Hey guys," and they pull out guns, start shooting at him. And in the next panel, there's bulletproof glass in front of him, and he's like, "Haha, asshole! There's bulletproof glass everywhere."
Yeah, he's like, "It's the Pentagon. Of course there'd be bulletproof glass here."
It's
like in the middle of the hallway.
And in the previous panel, you don't see any glass, and then suddenly in this panel, there's glass. So it's like, did they not see it? Did it raise instantly?
Yeah.
I think the Pentagon probably has, under lockdown situations, they raise bulletproof glass like this, but it has to be a situation where he's hacked into the security system at the very last second. He hits it and it raises the glass. It's just
he's a genius.
It's so unbelievable again. This.
And then the best line, he's like, "I broke into the Pentagon, the place where all the world's secrets are," and his sidekick goes, "Oh my god, he's put them on the internet." And I really wanted someone to be like, "We have to shut down the internet," but it didn't happen.
And so he says to Chief Morrow, "I gave you a day until death, so I'm not going to kill you now. You're going to die March 12th, so you're not going to die now." But he does say, just to be a fucking cock,
an evil little cock.
Chief says, "I'm going to bury you for this, Anderson." And Nemesis says the man who lost the president and all his country's nuclear codes. I thought you were supposed to be smart.
He says that walking away from him, just being like,
Now, keep in mind, all of this bullshit has happened. We're only maybe 35, 40 pages into this book.
Yeah.
They cram a lot. The bullshit per page count is pretty awesome.
Oh, and it gets higher as it goes on.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. So, it turns out they have a plan set up. First, Nemesis stole a donor organ from a dying child.
Oh, this is so weird. How did they know that he would go to steal...
How does anyone know anything in the story?
Did you notice the hospital is named after the Anderson family?
Oh, is
it's
that
the
it?
Caleb Anderson Memorial Hospital.
Oh, okay.
But I don't see why I still don't get why he took the organ.
Of all the crimes he would commit, that's a particularly heinous one, stealing an organ that's going to go bad from a child.
Yeah, Morrow's planning a trap for Nemesis, and in order to plan the trap, he needs to know where he's going to strike next. So he just naturally concludes Nemesis is going to steal organs from a hospital. And he's right!
And so it turns out that he had a police barricade on the bridge outside the hospital. And this is what we talk about cheating. Spoilers. It turns out Nemesis has a plan out of here, right? But here's what happens. We cut to Nemesis in the car. He sees the barricade and says, "Jesus Christ, you have got to be kidding." He's horrified at the barricade.
Joe and I used to call this the ultimate cheating, where he only says "you've got to be kidding me" to himself. So that's only to the reader.
It's one thing to have it as a fake out to other characters. He's saying it to the reader. He's talking to the reader basically and making
You're oh no, I'm in a bind.
Yeah, and we talked about it sometimes you'll have a character with internal monologue, and then later on it'll be revealed he's someone else in disguise, and that's total bullshit. Yeah. You can't do that.
No, it's complete cheating. So, everything about this book is cheats for Nemesis. Constantly, it doesn't try to hide it. He's doing it to surprise us. And when he says, "Oh my fucking god," he turns his fucking Batmobile into the Bat motorcycle or whatever.
Yeah, from Dark Knight.
And he's able to, by doing a wheelie, none of the cops shoot him off this motorcycle. He does a wheelie. The bottom of the motorcycle is a gun. And he starts to...
Also, all of a sudden, he has a bazooka.
Oh wait, not yet.
He shoots. He's
shit.
shooting through the barricade. None of them are shooting back with his motorcycle wheelie. He flips off the dock in his motorcycle, jumps backwards off it. Bazooka's in his arms. He just got it somewhere. And upside down, shoots the helicopter out of the air with the bazooka.
And what does he say, Sly?
Cocky little fucks, huh?
Yeah, just like in Star Fox 64. Cocky little fucks.
As if this is, like, natural. It's like, oh, you think a police barricade and being shot by police helicopters could stop me? I can do backflips and shoot bazookas upside down.
He planned it all.
Yeah. All according to Keikaku.
Yep.
He basically jumps off the bridge into a lake and then swims through sewers, and the police are waiting for him there. And now it looks like Nemesis is trapped.
Yeah, because they knew he was going to steal the organ, so they actually put in a pig's heart and put a tracker in it, and they, like, pistol whip him, and then they, like, have him cuffed, and he looks up at the camera and he goes, "You think I didn't plan all this?"
Yeah.
To be continued. End of issue 2.
Issue 3 is... it shows Nemesis being transported, and everyone's like, "We only need you until we find out where you keep the president." But after that, all bets are off. Fuckwad, says the guard to him.
And they can't take his mask off.
Yeah, why didn't they take off his mask?
No, they say it's booby-trapped.
Yeah.
Oh, like Prometheus' fucking stupid mask. This is so
Yeah, Prometheus is the character we were talking about, that is the same character but from a decade earlier, and he uses the exact same plot device.
Yeah, but either way, it's okay. So
I just want to bring out how silly it is that, like, in the previous issue ended with Morrow setting a trap for Nemesis, the Nemesis getting away from the trap, and then he set a secret trap to get Nemesis the second time, but Nemesis says, "I have a secret plan for your second trap."
Yeah, he's trying
no, wait. I have to illustrate how stupid this is. He planned for the cops to have a plan. And for that plan to be a fake-out plan. And so he had a plan to bait out the fake-out plan. This is stupid.
Yeah, he wanted to get arrested.
You know, it's this is the writer here trying to say, like, this is a battle of wits, except it's bullshit, so it doesn't come across that
it's
way.
bullshit.
I like that he wanted to get arrested at the second trap, but not the first one.
And see, I took this when I first read it as he's bluffing to scare the cops. But spoilers, he's not, which makes it bullshit.
Yeah.
Stupid writing to just have him plan that far ahead. That's not. No one, even Batman, doesn't plan that far ahead. What you're planning.
Because that doesn't make sense. You can't do that.
Just wait for planning ahead. You want to talk about planning ahead? Just wait.
Okay, yeah.
Wait. First, we should bring up that everyone, like, it shows different news stations, and, like, everyone's elated. Like, the Japanese Prime Minister's happy.
The caption is kudos from world leaders. Because that's what... When you capture someone who's murdered dozens of thousands of people, you give kudos.
Yeah.
And then his uncle's elated, too. And then Morrow's, the main detective's family, gets to return home, because Nemesis is finally captured. Yeah. And it's his wife, his daughter, and his son. Like, that's his family.
But it turns out that it was all a trap, and Nemesis was planning his escape all along.
Yeah.
And
again, a very unrealistic escape where somehow they break in to the security system. One of the guards is a disguise master, so he's like, somehow they didn't know who he was. He killed all the other guards. Then 100 riot cops come in. Nemesis says,
no, it's only 97.
Yeah, he says it's only 97, and don't worry, I can handle this myself, or whatever like that.
Yeah, so the guy that helped him bust out.
He kills 100 people with their batons.
97.
He kills 97 people with their batons. Very, like, brutally, too. They can't fight him. I guess...
This is pretty gory.
I want to bring up, this is my favorite part of all of Nemesis. I think this is, like, the way the fight's choreographed. And it's like showing how vicious he is. Yeah. It's really good.
Oh, wait. Darryl, your favorite scene is the one scene without dialogue?
Yes.
You fit in perfectly with this review of a Mark Millar book.
I like the explosions that didn't have dialogue, too.
Yeah.
We've said this about a lot of books before, is like, there's a lot of books that we've done on the show that we're like, this scene's actually pretty good. And then when we look at it, there's never dialogue.
Yeah.
It's cool because it's trying to show him as, like, the Batman type.
And it would be really cool if in another book, like another book, because as he's fighting, he's getting blood from these guards all over his white costume. So you get to see, like, how really, like, violent he is. Like, it's showing you how bloody
he's
he
like
actually
sticking
is.
their batons through their eyes and into their throats and through their mouths and stuff like that. He's brutalizing them.
I have to talk about this trope though, because writers have to stop this. They have to stop it. It was initially clever. The villain gets captured. It's a twist that he was planning to get captured. It's not a twist anymore because everyone fucking does it now. Joker did it. Loki did it. The villain from Skyfall did it. It's fucking old. Stop. It's not a twist. Everyone knows it.
And again, one of the most unbelievable escapes too, because not only did they know this mass murderer supervillain was here, they somehow let him get out, and then they let out all the prisoners.
Also, the fact that this guy killed about 40,000 people and they put him in general population in a prison is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Then they run out to the parking lot with the prisoners, and there's like 1,000 identical white Audis in the parking lot, and they're all escape vehicles. I don't know if you've ever been to a prison, but you have to go through security to park. Like, this means that there's a line of 100 Audis with his henchmen just driving in. They're like, "Hey, we're gonna park this, okay? Who are you here to see? Nemesis."
That's his trademark vehicle. That's like if like somebody parked a million Batmobiles.
Yeah, inside the prison compound. And those cars, like when you go into a prison, they check under the hood. And,
I really like they gives them to all these like random con men and inmates.
Yeah,
and we just don't see them again. They just all drive off together.
Yeah, they never get mentioned again. It's just other horrible shit to throw onto the pile of horrible shit going on in the book.
Yeah.
But it turns out that the whole point of his capture was to bait out the location of Morrow's family.
Because for some reason, that is the one thing he couldn't find. He specifically mentions
the one thing.
that like his guys that could bust him out of prison were like, we can't find his family.
I wonder if he planned that too. I wonder, because he plans out so much of this stuff. I wonder if he planned, I know I won't be able to find a family, so I'll plan out this.
I mean, he's literally saying it's easier to hijack Air Force One and fly it through a tunnel and keep everyone on board alive than it is to find this
one man's family. Just some detective.
Yeah.
I like too that he asked the guy about finding his family, knowing he wouldn't be able to find it, and that's why he was getting arrested in the first place, was to find it.
So they have Nemesis on phone call with the chief.
Okay, in a bubble, this would be my favorite concept. For some reason, I think this is a cool concept.
Why? Because it's calculated?
No.
Ryan,
I'm saying conceptually.
Ryan, have you seen Black Mirror?
No.
One of the best shows ever. It's like the modern Twilight Zone.
It's calculating every episode. It's fucking great.
No, not
Phil, are you Mark Millar?
It's a show about really strange premises. Like it's like a modern Twilight Zone, and like
highly recommended if you don't like the first episode to watch the second. Just jump in it.
But the first episode does have a concept of like public figures needing to embarrass themselves or else type thing. So
it's like the episode of Recess where the King Bob or whatever, the 5th grader, got blackmailed with that picture of him as a nerd.
Yep, you bet. You're right. Totally right. Thanks, Ryan.
So anyway, Nemesis calls the Chief Morrow, and for some reason he's naked. I don't know why he's naked, but he is. And not the Chief, Nemesis is naked. And he says, I have your kids.
The Chief is naked in his office in front of all these guys.
And Nemesis goes, I have your kids. You have to tell me, within an hour, you have to tell me your 3 most humiliating family secrets. If you don't know what they are, ask your wife, because she does. And you have to announce them, basically, publicly, otherwise I'm going to murder your kids.
Secret number 1 is, because it's a Mark Millar book, I got calculated by my wife.
No.
Yeah.
They almost made it out. They almost made it out.
No, they didn't. We're only like halfway through. And it's not just like, I was cuckolded.
But it's so throwaway. This is so throwaway. It has nothing to do with the main plot.
Yeah.
The way it happens, too, she's like, she cheated on me with my partner. And he's like, why? And somehow Nemesis knows the reason she did that is because I couldn't satisfy her.
I was an inattentive husband and a poor performer sexually.
And then the second secret is that his son is gay, but he couldn't tell his dad because, like, his dad would have judged him, even though he says, like, I still love my son. But I find this idea interesting that he points out that even though I would still love him, the fact that my son was scared says a lot about my character.
Yes, and then go ahead.
Yeah.
I was
and then go Darryl.
God damn it. I was gonna say that it's cool to do a thing where it's like Nemesis is trying to publicly humiliate him. Like I think that's interesting, but like this this story didn't build up Morrow as a character. You're not invested in who he is or his family.
Oh, that's the thing. That's why I said in a bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, this is actually, and I like that it's public humiliation, but through things that are really not his fault, and they're so personal to him, but it's so, like, it's just because you were so obsessed with your work that your son thinks that you're this, like, blue-collar, like, standard conservative American that's gonna hate that he's gay. The third secret is that his daughter had an abortion, and same thing, you know, because you're so Catholic. Yeah, and, like, I do really like this concept.
But it's Mark Millar here at the end trying to pretend his story had a theme, and the theme is, like, Morrow's story is family versus career. He tries to pretend like that was a thing the whole time, but we only start getting glimpses of it here.
Yeah.
Because his family was introduced, like, who they are is introduced just in
And
this.
he even says, like, this
issue.
will come up way more ham-fisted later when he has to choose between family and career. Spoilers.
But now, here's the thing. Right when I thought, like, this is a cool idea, maybe Millar could save this, he does the single most Millar thing I've ever fucking seen, where he lets the kids go,
Yep.
and he says, well, they're relatively unharmed, and he... You go, Sly, I can't do this.
Okay. He had the daughter get impregnated by her gay brother.
He didn't make them have sex.
Yeah, he fertilized the eggs while she was...
Which is way
When I read this,
more of a severe thing.
I just had to look away from the comic and just, like, stare up at the ceiling for a little bit, because I'm like, how, like, this is just so dumb.
It's him trying to be shocking.
And if you make it even stupider, he rigged the daughter's womb to completely collapse if they attempt to terminate the baby.
I forgot about this. Yeah, the doctors say doctors have never been able to do this.
Yeah, I'll say it verbatim. He's rigged your daughter's womb to completely collapse if we attempt a termination. She'll never have children if we do an abortion. But it's your call, like, what to do.
Guys, this is Trump's America.
I mean, like, so he's not just the Riddler, the most powerful Riddler ever and the supervillain. He's also the master doctor.
Yeah,
doctors.
master uterus.
Yeah, he's the best OB-GYN in the world.
And they also act like, don't worry, there will be no negative consequences of having this bomb in her uterus unless there's an abortion.
I don't think it's a bomb. I think it's like it's stitched up in some way that if I don't know, they don't.
Oh, it's not a bomb. Yeah, the womb will collapse.
Yeah.
So she'll never be able to have children again.
I would like a doctor to confirm this for us because I think that's bullshit.
He just said it's rigged.
Yeah. And again, they want to. Mark Millar's like, here's my theme now: family versus career. They try and emphasize this, and the wife starts screaming at the husband. And he's like, "You did this!" As if
Your stupid job did this.
She says, "Oh, fuck you, Blake," and he's like, "Peggy? No, fuck you on your stupid job. What you've done to our little family. This is all your fault, you selfish prick. I hate you. And she walks off.
Yeah, it's classic story of, like, man has to choose between his job and his barren daughter with the gay son. I
His
don't know.
incest babies.
And also, he's a selfish prick for reducing crime by 60% by setting a national standard for policing by being a fucking hero.
No, you know what? To have to do something like this, to earn the right to have a family versus career character, you need to show throughout the story how he neglects his family for his career. He has never done that in this story. Imagine you have 3 different scenes where, like, the wife desperately needs him and he's on a call or something and can't
Or something like when Nemesis announces that he's going after him, that she's pleading for him to stay in protective custody with her instead of being on the case.
But all we get is that a supervillain tortures him and she yells at him and says, "Fuck you for this happening."
Yeah.
Well, it's another example of Millar's wives being unreasonable, and she's probably gonna go sleep with some
Okay,
guy.
so just so I have to say, Mark Millar must have been cheated on when he was younger, and
He had to
have been.
Unless he always wanted to be.
No, because the wives here are always like villainous because of what they've done.
Yeah.
And like, and he it traumatized him so much, and it was probably around like 8th grade, and he like he's just stuck in this 8th grade mind for the rest of his life, even though he's like 40 years old now.
Yeah.
Because you'd think it's not like this is a main part of the story. It never comes up again here in Nemesis. So it's
Unlike Trouble, where it is a main part of the story.
he likes to just bring it up and just.
What's especially weird too is it's specifically cuckolding because I think all these guys still stay with the women that cheat on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, it's not just because it's not just because the woman was like lonely or whatever. It's always because the man's never good in bed.
Yeah.
It's not because the man's a fucking loser.
We are never gonna finish this
Okay,
book.
let's go. Come on.
Okay, so it ends with, it turns out that that Morrow had a man on the inside called Kirby, and Kirby was one of the guys working for Nemesis.
Jackie Shoes, a character name that I'm supposed to recognize.
Someone working for Nemesis is betraying Nemesis because he was on the inside all along.
And they give it, and he's like, "I got some information for you."
I know who Nemesis is, his true identity.
And then this issue ends, right?
Yeah.
So I have one question. What is it that now is worth this guy, like, turning himself in for? Like, shouldn't it be before the, like, horrible stuff with
Like
his
the
family?
president getting captured or the Redskins bomb.
Because they need a way to keep the tension going.
No, I
Then
understand why narratively, but in universe, what did he do?
You can't.
Maybe-
You can't, Ryan.
yeah.
There's no way to justify any of this logically. There's no
in
way.
universe, this world is Bizarro World, and things don't make sense. It's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're in Trump's America.
Anyway, now Morrow has the upper hand because he's like, all right, we know who Nemesis is. Let's go get him. In his words, let's nail this bitch, he says with a cocked shotgun.
So, issue 4, it turns out that Morrow is actually... not Morrow. It turns out that Anderson, the Bruce Wayne figure... Morrow believes that he impersonated Alfred, and now he is Alfred. That's why.
And he's like, "Wow, I didn't realize an 85-year-old man could leap on top of Air Force One and shoot."
Yeah,
down
so he says that he's his own uncle.
Yeah. He's his own grandpa.
And he even says, like, I've played poker with this guy. It could have been Nemesis this whole time.
Not just I do it every Tuesday.
Yeah.
And the name of issue 4 is there anything this bastard isn't capable of?
So he's his own uncle who plays poker with the police chief.
Well,
every
he was in
Tuesday.
Japan.
And China and Singapore, because apparently all his crimes have been in Asia until this stuff. Whatever.
And they say that no, it could be him because look at Benjamin Button. They made Brad Pitt look old. This guy could look old too.
Yeah.
But to make this even stupider, to make that theory even stupider, it's not even true. It turns out that Kirby was fed false information, and when they go to Alfred's house, he has bombs set up around him, and he explodes and dies.
And kills all the cops.
Yeah, same thing as the first scene. It's just cop murder, where it's like kick down the door. Oh, it was a trap with 3 seconds left. Perfect timing again, because it's not remote detonation here. It's a timed bomb. It's timed that within 3 seconds of them getting there, it blows up.
And it kills everyone but Morrow.
Also,
Yeah,
I would like to think that these timers aren't perfectly planned out, and he just has a clock always set to 3, and then just he watches, and when people walk in, he blows them up.
maybe that would be more reasonable.
Morrow gets captured by Nemesis after the bomb explodes all his friends and stuff, and he says, "Oh, Blake, you are really quite gullible for such an educated man." And it's so fucking annoying to have a guy who's cheating and then be smug about it. Like, it's like in a game of, like, when you're playing, like, Monopoly, and the guy starts stealing money from the bank, and now he's like, "Oh, you're so shitty at Monopoly, eat my shit." Like fuck
It's
you.
worse than that, Sly.
Yeah.
Like, how could you fall for this plan that's the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen?
You didn't think I could land on Air Force One and gas the entire Pentagon in one day?
What an idiot! But now here is where all the bullshit really starts.
So just remember, we had a twist at the end of issue 3 where Kirby is actually working for Morrow and that the uncle is the villain. Yeah. Then we have a twist that the uncle is just the uncle and Kirby was feeding him false information.
This is 4 pages into issue 4.
And now he's like, but how did you know? And he's like, you've had a mole on the inside too, Chief.
His sidekick was the mole.
His sidekick was the mole. So we have
Stewart.
mole within mole here.
And he said, how could you betray me? And he's like, $10 million is a lot of money. He's been paying me to watch you for 8 years.
8 years. We're talking planning ahead now, right? So he's like, 8 years ago, he's like, watch this guy. Tell me what kind of information. Like, what information did he get in those 8 years that he used during this?
I like that.
He couldn't even find his kids.
To make it extra stupid, though, if it was the case that Morrow was the cop that like caused his parents death, and he was planning this his entire life, it will kind of make sense.
But he gives a big monologue here.
He says, I just made all that up. I'm not that fucking guy. That guy killed himself.
Yeah, the person we got the backstory for it, the Baroque family, nothing. That's just nothing.
The Bruce Wayne character, he was just a guy who killed himself afterwards. He was nobody, and Nemesis stole his identity to make Barrow think he was after him. So, Nemesis arbitrarily picked 8 years down the line, I'm going to go after this random cop. who I know he'll be successful 8 years down the line. I know his career will take off.
He's gonna reform DC.
Yeah.
and
the cop asks him, it's like, well, then who are you? And he's like, Nemesis says, I'm just a rich guy.
I wish I brought this up earlier, but when he was pretending to be Anderson too, Anderson was also as a cheating asshole where he's like, by 12 years old, I ran a drug cartel in Mexico. By 20, I ran a Zoroastrian death cult or something. It's like, but why bring it up? Why? And like, why bring up the uncle?
Why waste my time?
Why write this comic? Why waste my time?
Why make the uncle... why make him his own uncle just for 2 pages? Unless it's just like, between issue 3 and 4, you want to build that tension.
Because he's trying to make it seem like this is a tense game of cat and mouse, a tense thriller. It's not. It's bullshit. The whole entire book is bullshit.
At the end of issue 3, he does, like, they do write in the side, it's like, wait till issue 4, there's so many twists, like, you'll need to wear adult diapers.
So Stewart says, haha, fuck you, Morrow.
Stewart?
The sidekick.
The sidekick.
The sidekick.
Oh.
And he's like, I'll be selling myself in Costa Rica for my $10 million. You know his henchmen retire after every job? And then Nemesis just shoots him in the head and says, well, that's one way of putting it. Why kill him?
It's because he doesn't want to pay him. He doesn't have $10 million.
He has fucking so much money.
He pretends to have so much money, he never pays anybody.
I like the idea that Stewart, the sidekick, was working for him for 8 years without getting paid the whole time. It's like, come on, man.
What's crazy, too, is if he does this regularly, that he just shoots his henchmen, he's shooting super criminals, too.
Yeah.
And no one else has ever heard of this, so they don't work with him.
Also, was Bitcoin even around 8 years ago?
Yeah, it was, actually.
He planned for it. He planned for it.
He made Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But this is what it's not a trope I hate. The trope that I'm such a badass villain, I kill my henchmen. Like realistically, no one will work for you if you killed all your henchmen.
All you have to do is that it gets out once, and then no one will ever work for you.
But it doesn't get out because he kills everyone.
I guess.
But like all the top henchmen in the world just disappear after meeting Nemesis, and no one makes connection. Whatever.
Okay, so anyway, here's the climax. Nemesis is like, finally, let's resolve this plot we just introduced. Choose between your career and your personal life. And he has his wife and the president strapped to bombs. And he, apparently before the cop got there, he said, you guys have to kill each other. If you kill the other person, you get to live. And neither of them would do it. So he lets the chief choose.
They have to kill each other, but they both have detonators to their own bombs.
That's true. What the fuck?
You don't know it's your own. Oh, you don't know it's your own bomb.
No, but the president...
No.
It is his own bomb.
It's not, because when the president uses it, it's Morrow using it.
Okay.
But I also have to point out here that they're in the White House. He also killed everyone in the White House. Too.
Oh, yeah, that too. Yep.
He is so powerful that he kills everyone.
Also, the fucking detonator that he gives Morrow has 2 buttons on it, and one says family, and one says career.
This is when I was like, you're taking this theme and just reducing it to the most 7th grade level you possibly can, where you give someone a switch that with 2 bombs, one says family and one says career, and you're like, which do you want to kill?
It's as ridiculous as in Snakes on a Plane when he throws the snake in the microwave and presses the fucking snake button.
Yes.
But this is not tongue-in-cheek. This is serious.
Yeah.
But we talked about this. We talked about this even in Civil War, a book where we claimed was a good Mark Millar book.
We claimed.
And even the best Mark Millar books have this problem. We even mentioned this in the review. He is not a subtle man.
No.
Like this is about how he writes. You want to side fight between family and career, you get a button that says family and career. That's his idea of moral dilemma. But either way, the president... This is my favorite scene in the book.
It's me too, actually.
The president says, oh, fuck you. And then this is like, excuse me? I've had enough of this shit. You kidnap me, murder my friends, terrorize the entire city, and you think I'm just going to stand here? I ate punks like you for breakfast back in Vietnam. And he's like, I'm not entirely sure where this is going, sir. Have you got some kind of kung fu action skills I don't know about? And the president turns tomorrow and says, hit the button, chief. It'll be a pleasure. And then
so he walks up to Nemesis and says, blow me up, basically.
And that's even stupider because they introduce this to the plot between choose career
or family.
And they don't make a choice. The president's like, kill me.
It's resolved by him following orders, so he chose career.
Yeah, the president says, kill me, make it easy for you.
And I like that this is something like Nemesis did not plan. With 2 people like C4 strapped to them, he's like, oh no.
He did plan it. He did plan this.
Oh, he did. He planned everything, actually. Because wait. Yeah.
But
he pretended to be surprised.
It's also just weird that it was 2 people in one room and they are both strapped with explosives, and you need to choose who to blow up when it's clear they're going to blow each other up.
They're gonna blow up the
That's it.
room. That's how bombs work.
Yeah, because the next scene...
Wait, real quick, can you say what Nemesis says after... Because he blows up and he's all, like, bloody and he hits the ground.
And Nemesis says, "Holy shit, I'm covered in old person."
That's where it's like, this is definitely 8th grader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, they now they're all bloody and injured and they fight, but now an attack helicopter comes down and starts shooting
This is so weird.
at both of them. And Nemesis says, "Ha ha ha! Oh God, this is priceless. Priceless. I'm too rich to fail. Don't you understand? People like me never lose." And the cards say, "Midnight, midnight OB, you old asshole. I've killed better men than you, you know."
Who could be this good?
Yeah, who could be fucking this good enough to fucking survive all this
At
shit?
least keep that guy hit by the train. We don't know what their fight was like before.
But yeah, they have the classic standoff where they both run for a gun and they both shoot each other, and it looks like they both die.
Well, Moro gets shot in the side, and Nemesis gets shot in the head.
No, Mark gets shot in the chest.
Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah, he does. And,
Yeah, to show later on his wounds.
and since apparently Mark Millar's a doctor, they have some doctor lingo while he's in the hospital.
Yeah, which is like, we get her uterus is rigged to collapse. But then we get like 2 whole pages full of them trying to save him.
And then we have
He flatlines. He flatlines on the table, and Nemesis smiles because the card says March 12th at midnight. Flatline still counts. So
He doesn't die.
he flatlines at the moment.
at midnight,
Yeah, and then the time Nemesis said he would.
and then they defibrillate him.
So Nemesis planned this entire thing out.
Yeah.
He was never planning on killing Morrow. He was just planning to make him flatline.
No, wait, hold on. Let's wrap up this ridiculous couple last pages.
Okay. We read a letter from
Someone, an unknown person, unknown source.
It's Nemesis.
It's obviously Nemesis
Yeah.
from right away. And we have a montage of Morrow growing old. He grows a mustache.
he looks like Commissioner
He
Gordon.
really looks like Commissioner Gordon.
It's immediately what I thought.
He has grandchildren from his daughter. She had triplets, even though it only shows 2
And
kids.
they adopt them.
I think that the son's playing with a male friend.
yeah,
They're like, it's almost like he accepted. He's like, yeah, everything's okay. Incest babies and homosexuality.
So he won, and now he has a perfect life.
Yep.
And then the letter says oh, you won, even though you didn't win, because I won. But I deem you winning, so now I'll let you live, but stay away from the Pacific Rim because there's monsters, kaiju running around.
Well, what it says is, I wasn't really Nemesis. I'm the brains behind Nemesis. I hire a new supervillain every couple years.
every year. He says next year supervillains will be even worse because I just give them money.
So Nemesis is actually the guy in the behind the scenes.
So what's interesting about this
Yeah.
is I thought it almost helps to explain the cheating he does because it's not him and his henchmen, because apparently there's a company that hires engineers and stuff like this to rig this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's it is apparently a big organization, but I'd also like to point out big organizations, like terrorist organizations, still have a lot of trouble committing terror acts. It's not that easy
Yeah.
to do this stuff.
And also, big organizations have a lot of... The more years you have, the more people working, the more people can fucking rat you out.
Yeah. So you have engineers and artists or whatever he said. You think, whatever. This is fucking dumb.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, here's the dumbest part. Ends on the dumbest part.
No, you mean the best twist of all.
So Commissioner Gordon turns to him saying, where'd you get this letter? The guy who sent this, is he at the resort? And the waiter who gave him the letter says, actually, that's the peculiar thing, Mr. Morrow. The card and the wine have been here since I started with very specific instructions. He delivered these 10 years ago.
Yeah, fucking Back to the Future 2, for Christ's sake.
They fucking should have had him say at the end, just according to a keikaku. That's what it fucking was.
And also, the more ridiculous thing is they mention that this bottle of wine is the most expensive wine in the whole
that's just
world. What? That's not how, what?
It's because they're so rich.
Also, so this guy not only plans all this stuff, he also knows what the exact wine market will be a decade from any given day.
Yeah. Well, if you can plan someone flatlining at midnight 10 years later, whatever.
I guess that's true.
This is 2 concepts at odds. This is concept of Batman trying to get revenge on Commissioner Gordon for letting his parents die, and he planned out the whole thing perfectly. You could have that, but you can't now mix. You can't have it because it sucks. You could theoretically have that, but now you're mixing it in with this other plot where he's just hiring, he's just getting random rich people to act out all these things, and he's just a guy doing it for money.
Yeah.
the whole book suffers from, especially the last issue, it just suffers from, like, Millar was trying to find ways to keep pulling twists on his own story, where he's like,
Yes.
I'm not actually Anderson. Your partner was working for me. I planned for you to flatline even though I die, and actually I'm not Nemesis.
I'm sorry, if you shoot someone in the chest, you can't plan for them to be revived. Their heart. First of all, you can't plan for their heart to stop.
You rigged your womb to collapse.
You can't plan for their heart to stop in the first place. And even if you do, you can't plan that it'll... It's just...
10 years in advance. So.
Like, what if the doctor was drugged that day? What if he had a bad day? What if he wasn't on his A game?
Batman's the
Also,
perfect planner.
sometimes a stopped heart doesn't respond to a defibrillator, and you just die. That like, it's
Hey guys, if we asked questions,
Yeah, we're gonna be here.
What if this thing? It will be here. We will be here forever.
I want to get out of Millar hell.
it's all according to Keikaku.
So the book ends. He delivered these 10 years ago, and there's just a guy on a remote island drinking wine. So obviously he's the mastermind between Nemesis.
What's amazing too is like apparently there's enough rich sociopaths in the world that he says like I fund other rich sociopaths and there'll be more next year. So there are people who are able. Other rich people who are able and willing to kill tens of thousands of people, just all lined up, waiting to be funded.
Part of me wishes this book ended with Detective Morrow waking up in the Matrix.
That would have been more believable. So
that's
recommend-
Nemesis.
So let's transition to our next book.
wait, are we not going to recommend?
We're not
Okay.
going to do Nemesis now. A final thoughts.
Do we need to? We said everything.
No, I want to do recommendations though.
We'll do recommendations at the end. I don't think we have two recommendations for both of these books.
Yeah, we don't.
All right, so transition to our next book, The Unfunnies.
So give us a little bit of backstory. You mentioned it in what was it? There was another, I think, Trouble?
Yeah, so this is actually this is part of the Millarworld line, and just a little backstory. Millarworld was actually supposed to premiere with the Epic line, so this could have been published by Marvel theoretically.
It wouldn't have been. They wouldn't have let. They
It
wouldn't have let this.
So this book was part of Millarworld, and for the longest time, this was one of the first Millar books, and I guess Millar stuck with it for so long. But now it's off the Millarworld site. I guess now he realized, oops, I fucked up. This was too much. And just to give you a little backstory on this, he showed this to his wife. His wife read it,
And she cheated on him.
She already had at this point, I think.
No, but she read the book and she threw the book at him and said, I don't want to believe you're capable of writing something this horrible. I don't want to think these awful thoughts are in your head. And he said to her, but honey, the crow is sucking cock for a reason.
That sums it up,
Jesus.
basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So the premise is, it's a quote-unquote horror comic about a world resembling basically Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Right. It looks a lot like the old 60s cartoons.
yeah.
And basically it becomes more and more messed up as the characters start discovering sex, swearing, murder. And little do they know, it's all because the creator of their world, Troy Hicks, has become a child molester and killer, and he's basically corrupting everything in this world.
Do we have to talk about this book?
I couldn't. I'll be honest. I tried to read it and I stopped near the end of the first issue and just put it down and said, "Okay, I think I got it."
Sly and I have talked about doing this book before I read it for years. It was like one of the books that made us want to do the podcast, and I think the first angry rant I ever heard from Sly was about this book. It's actually, your rant about this book might be one of the reasons we're such good friends, because I loved it so much. I read it today. I never want to think about it again.
How about this? Who wants to talk about this?
Okay then.
Okay.
So as Phil said, he got an issue into
Yeah.
it. I personally, I read it 4 years ago. I narrated it to Ryan. I got 2.5 issues into it where we got into the second cuckolding plot line and said, I had enough of this.
It is, without a doubt, the worst story I've ever experienced in any medium. I hated it so much.
We've talked about him being an edgelord, and like this is like the purest edgelord energy. Like if you found like a pool of edgelord energy that is untouchable by humans, this is what it is. It's just it's concentrated shock value. in its purest.
And I feel like if we were to do an episode on it, we would have to end the podcast because there's nothing to do after that. That is the most thing. So if we ever do an Unfunnies episode, I can guarantee it will be the final episode of the podcast.
If we ever do an Unfunnies episode, it'll probably be on the FBI watch list.
We probably are just for talking about it.
Can I tell you something?
Don't you fucking say you liked it.
No. When I was like 14 or 15,
You wrote this.
no, I wrote a story, and in the story, I wanted
I am Troy Hicks.
to do the scene where it's this guy that's being interrogated by another guy who's like the villain of my story. And what the villain does is, in order to get the information out of him to show him that he has control over him, is he takes a screwdriver and he jabs it into the guy's eye. And when I was writing it, like I was just trying to make it like descriptive to disgust people. And it was one of those things where when I returned to the story 4 years later, I look back at it and I'm like this isn't good. This is just like, it's just nauseating stuff. Like, it's purposely there to make people feel bad, and no one should have to read this. And I just wanted to bring up that this is like, this story is that captured. It's really just putrid.
But he wasn't 14 when he wrote it. He'd been writing comics for a decade.
It's the same thing where it's like, it's the most putrid thoughts you have that shouldn't be given form.
Yeah.
But just to give you an idea of how, because like you might think, oh, the guy's overestimating it. Like we bitched about like Cry for Justice. What happened? That guy got his arm ripped off. You're a bunch of pussies. No. So just to give some backstory, when we read Wanted, there was a throwaway joke about child molesting, and I pointed it out, and Joe said, "No, let's not talk about it. It's disgusting. I don't want to bring this up. I don't want that thought in my mind. I don't want to discuss it. I don't want to analyze it. Let's end this discussion." And I cut it from the final episode. Child molesting jokes are like 80% of this book.
It is a core element of this book. You have to be in for that.
And it's like, it's not just that it's like a main theme, it's like a joke throughout.
It's a joke.
Joke.
Just to give an example, just a minor example, a child molester is on trial, and they're doing the classic bit when the person is accusing somebody of doing something horrible, and that person has like bullshit excuses for it. And so the guy's like, "Oh, you messed with this child," and he's like, "No, I'm just having him test out my wife's clothes and stuff," and it's supposed to be funny.
That's what I think is the most sickening thing about this whole thing is he takes really fucked up concepts like child molestation, like rape, like all these things,
AIDS,
and he just
it is never taken seriously,
and it's always a joke. Like, it's funny that these things happen in the world, and I know that's his point. Is like, I'm gonna make jokes about the most vile parts of humanity, but why? Is what my question is, like, why would you create this? Like you said, Darryl,
it doesn't feel like when Alan Moore does it, he's making a statement almost always.
Yeah.
This just feels like he's doing it just to get his friends to laugh in the cafeteria.
Also, it's like when Alan Moore does it, he tells a story, and there's you can argue with his elements of hope in all the stories, but there's character drive. There's resolution that feels satisfying. This story, everyone's lives are horrible. They end up horrible. They're miserable. Almost everyone. I think everyone dies or has a horrible life to go on from this.
Not Bill Hicks.
Taylor Hicks. Bill Hicks is a different guy.
Poor Bill Hicks.
Poor Bill Hicks, being compared to Taylor, a fucking pedophile. Sorry.
Yeah, it's Taylor Hicks. He gets everything that he wants to.
Basically, what happens is he finds out that he's making his world more fucked up, and he's like, I want to go into my fucked up world because I don't want to be in jail on trial for my crimes. So he finds a way to switch places with one of his cartoon characters, and now he has his cartoon world to ruin, like he did our world, basically.
Okay, I've had enough of this.
Yeah, what a great story. Thanks, Mark Millar. You're. Can I also? I was reading about Mark Millar yesterday. He in 2013 was awarded by Queen Elizabeth the member of the Order of the British Empire Award for his outstanding work in literature. So I wish I could take the Unfunnies and go to the Queen and be like, you gave this guy an award. Look at what he wrote. This represents the United Kingdom.
Well, after Brexit, maybe it does.
Yeah.
Can someone read the review at the back of his book?
Okay. It's 5 stars out of 5, and this is Rich Johnson from Lying in the Gutters, and it gives a website. And he says,
I guess he is lying in the gutters because this is a gutter trash review.
He says, people say that America is unshockable now. that all the taboos have been broken, that after 9/11 nothing can make a real impact. Those people just haven't read Unfunnies yet.
So he's saying that if you thought you want to be shocked like you were on 9/11, read the Unfunnies, because that's what everyone wants to feel in their life.
That sums it all up. I'm done with this.
Yeah.
If you're the queen and you want to defend your horrible actions, write us, divisiveissues@gmail.com, and Twitter, Facebook, Stitcher, Google Play, iTunes, rate and review, all that jazz.
Before we wrap up, I just have one question. I had a bunch of questions, but since we talked so long about this, I just have one question I have to ask, because it's a follow-up to our last discussion, and it's very relevant.
I have questions from fans, and I am not reading them because I do not want them to be tainted with our mindset right now.
Yeah, our minds are in a dark place at this moment. You don't want to hear our thoughts. But we talked about in, I forget which episode, but we were talking about characters and how stories should have, are the best stories are ones that have a reaction. And the worst stories are ones that give you no reaction and you're just bored by them. I think Unfunnies is a perfect counterpoint to that argument.
Well, the thing is, am I reacting to the plot? In like we talked about, like Song of Ice and Fire, I react to the characters where I'm mad that these events are happening, but I'm not mad at the writer for portraying them. When I get mad at Unfunnies, I wasn't mad that these actions were happening. I was mad that a writer thought this was how to tell a story.
You were mad at Mark Millar.
Yeah, I felt that Mark Millar was wasting my time.
It's also, we have to make a distinction. Feeling emotions, we weren't saying that that's always good. We're saying in fiction it is good to evoke a response. When you see a car accident and you see someone dead, if you're gonna feel bad. It's not a good thing that you feel bad there. That is, you don't enjoy that you feel things for tragedies, and that's what this feels like. The Unfunnies is making light of tragedies and sick things, and the natural human response is to feel bad about it. That doesn't make it good fiction though, because it's not telling a story. It's like he's
The Unfunnies is like the lowest common denominator of like when people try and defend free speech, where they're like that where it's like, shouldn't people
I want to see where you're going with this.
people should be allowed to do whatever they want to do.
Even by Unfunnies.
Yeah, they should be allowed, but it's like Unfunnies is probably the strongest proponent for being against that. Where it's like, you don't need like 100% freedom to do whatever you want. Like, you don't need to make jokes of this caliber. Like, maybe you should be able to, but you shouldn't, like...
You shouldn't. You shouldn't.
Now, I have one quick question. Now, we talked about how people have recommended Wanted and Kingsman and Nemesis. Has anyone ever recommended Unfunnies?
No.
I can't imagine that.
This is the black sheep of the Mark Millar family.
Okay.
Thank God. There's some hope for humanity left.
I recommend Nemesis over... like,
As Sly pointed out yesterday, this man, after writing these things, went on to become a famous Hollywood writer. That is amazing to me, because I didn't know Mark Millar actually until like a few days ago when we were talking about this. I don't know who he is. I've heard you guys mention him all the time, but after reading these two books, it's astounding to me. It's astounding to me that he is a successful man.
Yeah, I just want to... Sorry to keep adding on to this, but there's so much to talk about with Mark Millar. He's such a fascinating person.
We are gonna... I mean, we have other Mark Millar episodes queued up, like, for very soon.
oh, man.
But this... I guess we'll save this for... this question for later, then.
Okay. So recommendations.
Yes.
If you like Unfunnies, I recommend you shoot yourself.
Jesus, Sly.
I kind of have to second that.
Yeah, it's just so hard to recommend. It's like anything.
Okay, I have a recommendation. I'll start. If you want, like, edgy but good, read Preacher. Because Preacher, it has a show now that I only saw the first episode, but it was pretty good. But Preacher is written by Garth Ennis with art by Steve Dillon, and it is like edgy, uncomfortable, gory, but it's so flawless. And I used to rag against like super edgy to be edgy kind of things, but Preacher is one of the best fictional experiences I've ever had. And it is everything Mark Millar tries to be, but so much better. So just read Preacher.
Edgelord is a trait. It's not necessarily a flaw. And Garth Ennis actually does it pretty well a lot of times.
Yeah.
Sly,
There are great
Sylvester
edgelords.
Grandpa. Yeah. Edgelord is a trait, not a flaw.
You could also recommend something that's not like this at all, just to get the taste down.
So for Nemesis, got Unfunnies, like recommendations like cyanide. If for Nemesis, if you want to see something that's not shit, that's like a cat and mouse type thing, we might have recommended it before, the anime Death Note.
Damn, I was gonna say that. Fuck.
Nemesis tries to do the whole, like, plans within plans within plans, except the plans actually make sense. They don't cheat. They don't constantly go back and say, I was the uncle all along, or whatever, just for shock value.
Like, they even have, like, backup plans and stuff like that. But the fact they have backup plans shows it's more like they had contingency plans in case they failed, rather than...
There's a difference between a contingency plan and having your failure be part of a 5-layer plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Death Note has really complex plans, and it's a cat and mouse game between a cop and a criminal, and it's awesome.
And also, we should mention, Death Note's another good example of... Because I talked about this... just because a villain is a villain doesn't mean he can't be interesting or likable. And Kira's an interesting villain.
Yeah, the premise of Death Note is that a kid finds this book where he can kill people, and he's like, I'm going to kill all the criminals of the world. But
And he thinks he's a hero.
Yeah, and he in turn is murdering people, so the cops are like, we have to stop him, and that's what the show's about, and he's an interesting hero. There's no way you can side with Nemesis in this story, but you can. There are people who side with Kira in Death Note.
Speaking of interesting villains, my recommendation would just be Irredeemable. And it's essentially, the idea is if Superman decided to pretty much kill everyone, what would that be like, and how would the Justice League stop him when he immediately starts? And it's like, what would you do if a guy can hear everything that happens on Earth? What if he can be anywhere at any time? And he's a really tragic figure because of everything that he had to put up with, and you get to see how he slowly became corrupted and slowly became more psychotic because he just couldn't trust anyone, and he got obsessed with how people saw him, like the people that didn't like him. And he
I
got
really have
consumed
to
by
read that at some point.
It's really good.
What about you, Sly?
My recommendation is something we mentioned. It was going to be Death Note, but Phil gave it. But my recommendation will be Superman Red Sun. We mentioned it before.
Yeah.
And I give it as a specific example for this because Nemesis by Mark Millar could have been good probably if it was called Batman The Other Side or something like that, published by DC. Because when Mark Millar is reined in by a big publisher like DC or Marvel, and when he writes for DC or Marvel, he feels more like he has to pay honor to his characters. Like he doesn't feel like he can shit around on them. When he has that feeling, he writes better. He should have that feeling and editors behind him all the time, in my opinion.
In his life, he needs a team of people saying, stop trying to be so cool.
He needs to stop thinking literally just making shit is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for listeners, let me just explain what Red Sun is. Red Sun is about what if Superman landed in Soviet Russia, and in Soviet Russia, Superman controls you. He basically now he has Soviet values instead of American values of freedom and truth and justice. So he has more values of the people have to be controlled. You have to have everyone be equal, and he becomes basically a fascist. And Lex Luthor becomes the American hero instead. It's a very interesting take on Superman.
It's a really, really interesting story.
It's really good.
Yeah. I didn't know that was Mark Millar, like I said earlier. Like it's shocking. Yeah. It's shocking to me.
Yeah, good Mark Millar and bad Mark Millar is so disparate.
Maybe that's why it's so frustrating, is because the disparity between the two is so great that you're wondering, how can't you just, like when you work on your own, how can't you just be good?
How can you not realize...
Why is this what you gravitate towards?
How can you not realize, reading through what he wrote in Nemesis, like, this is shit? Like, how is that possible?
His wife said his stuff is shit. Like, if your wife says your stuff is shit, maybe it's shit.
Well, she's cheating on him anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe this is all part of his plan.
all according to Keikaku.
And honestly, he keeps doing it. He keeps making all the money. So, like, who are we to fucking throw shade at him?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Popularity and
oh, no, I'm not saying it's good.
quality are opposites sometimes.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Goodbye, Mark Millar.
that's it, right?
That was an episode. That was certainly a fucking episode.
Thank you guys for joining us on this
Thank you for bearing our bullshit.
lovely Wednesday.
Don't read these books.
Don't read these books.
Yeah.
We've been Divisive Issues. I'm Ryan Lynch.
I'm Psych Rappo.
I'm Phil Maverickus.
And I'm Darryl Steffen.
Stay in continuity.
Stay away from Mark Millar.